Imagine waking up every morning with absolute clarity about what needs to be done, executing your plans without hesitation, and ending each day knowing you showed up as your best self. No procrastination, no distractions, no excuses, just pure, unwavering discipline that moves you toward your goals every single day. Sounds almost superhuman, doesn't it? Yet this was the daily reality for Marcus Aurelius, a man who led the most powerful empire on earth while battling wars, political conspiracies, deadly plagues, and personal losses that would break most people. Despite ruling millions and facing constant chaos, he maintained a level of self-discipline that most of us struggle to achieve on our best days. How did he do it? The answer lies in his personal journal, Meditations, a collection of notes he wrote to himself that have survived nearly 2,000 years. These weren't meant for public consumption. They were his private reminders, his daily practices for building and maintaining the iron discipline that made him one of history's greatest leaders. Today, we're diving deep into the Stoic philosophy that shaped Marcus Aurelius, exploring 10 powerful habits that transformed him from an ordinary man into an extraordinary emperor. These aren't abstract concepts or feel-good theories. These are battle-tested practices that built unshakable self-discipline in the most challenging circumstances imaginable. In a world overflowing with distractions, instant gratification, and endless excuses, these ancient principles offer something rare: a proven system for mastering yourself. Whether you're struggling to stick to your goals, constantly battling procrastination, or just want to elevate every area of your life, understanding and applying these Stoic habits will fundamentally transform how you operate. Before we begin, if you appreciate deep Stoic wisdom like this, do me a simple favor and hit that subscribe button. Also, don't skip any part of this video because each habit builds upon the last, and missing even one could mean missing the breakthrough you're looking for. You're here because you're different from the majority, so consider yourself exceptional and stay tuned as we explore these life-changing principles together. Habit 1. Start each day with purposeful intention. Marcus Aurelius began every morning with a powerful practice that set the tone for his entire day. He would remind himself of his purpose, his duties, and the person he intended to be before the world demanded anything from him. He wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for?" This reveals something crucial about self-discipline. It doesn't begin when you start working. It begins the moment you open your eyes. Most people wake up and immediately react to their environment. They check their phones, scroll through social media, read emails, and let the external world dictate their mental state before they've even left bed. By the time they actually start their day, they're already scattered, reactive, and operating without intention. The Stoics understood that true discipline requires reclaiming your morning. Those first moments after waking are when your mind is most malleable, most receptive to direction. This is when you set your internal compass, deciding who you'll be and what you'll accomplish before the chaos begins. For Marcus Aurelius, this morning practice wasn't just motivation. It was preparation. He would mentally rehearse the challenges ahead, remind himself of his principles, and clarify what truly mattered. This gave him something most people lack: intentionality. In Stoic philosophy, living with purpose means understanding your role in the larger scheme of things and aligning your actions with your deepest values. It's not about grand gestures or monumental achievements. It's about showing up every single day, doing what needs to be done, with commitment and integrity. Here's the modern application. Your purpose doesn't need to be world-changing. It needs to be yours. What drives you at your core? What are you working toward? What kind of person do you want to become? Most people can't answer these questions clearly, which is why their discipline wavers. Without a compelling purpose, every obstacle becomes an excuse to quit. But when you're crystal clear on your why, discipline becomes automatic. You don't need willpower to do what deeply matters to you. The morning intention practice asterisk. Spend 5 minutes each morning before checking any devices. Ask yourself, what is my purpose today? What are my most important tasks? What kind of person do I want to be today? How will I respond when challenges arise? Write down your answers. This isn't just thinking, writing forces clarity. By putting your intentions on paper, you're making a contract with yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil." He wasn't being cynical. He was being prepared. By anticipating challenges in advance, he wasn't caught off guard when they appeared. His discipline remained intact because he'd already decided how he would respond. This morning practice builds self-discipline because it transforms you from reactive to proactive. Instead of life happening to you, you're happening to life. You're choosing your response before circumstances force a response from you. Over time, this daily intention setting becomes your foundation. You stop drifting through life and start directing it. You stop wondering what you should do and start executing what you already know needs doing. That's the power of purposeful intention, and it's where all discipline begins. Habit 2. Take complete ownership of your life. One of the most powerful Stoic principles for building self-discipline is this: count on yourself. Not on circumstances, not on other people, not on luck, but on you. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about self-reliance, not as isolation but as personal accountability. He understood that the moment you start depending on external factors for your success, you've surrendered your discipline to forces beyond your control. This habit is about recognizing that you are the primary driver of your life. Your success or failure, your growth or stagnation, your discipline or chaos, all of it ultimately comes down to the choices you make and the actions you take. In Stoicism, this is tied to the fundamental principle of focusing on what's within your control. You cannot control outcomes, other people's opinions, market conditions, or unexpected obstacles. But you can always control your effort, your attitude, your response, and your commitment. When you truly internalize this, something remarkable happens. Excuses disappear. You can no longer blame your circumstances, your past, your resources, or other people for where you are. That might sound harsh, but it's actually liberating. Most people give away their power by making external factors responsible for their results. I would work out, but I don't have time. I would start that business, but the economy is bad. I would pursue that goal, but I don't have support. The Stoic response to all of this is simple. Those are circumstances, not destinies. Your discipline isn't determined by what's happening around you. It's determined by what you choose to do regardless of what's happening around you. Marcus Aurelius had every excuse in the world to abandon discipline. As emperor, he could have indulged in any pleasure, avoided any difficulty, blamed any failure on the countless variables outside his control. Instead, he wrote, "If it's endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." He took complete ownership of his response to life, which is the only thing anyone can truly own. The ownership practice. When you face any challenge or setback, immediately ask yourself, what part of this is within my control? What action can I take right now? Stop the habit of listing all the reasons something is difficult or impossible. Start the habit of identifying the one thing you can do, no matter how small, to move forward. This builds discipline because it trains your mind to be solution-focused rather than excuse-focused. Every time you take action despite unfavorable circumstances, you strengthen your self-reliance. You prove to yourself, I don't need perfect conditions. I don't need everything to align. I can make progress anyway. This doesn't mean you ignore reality or pretend obstacles don't exist. It means you stop letting obstacles define your possibilities. You acknowledge them, then ask, given these constraints, what can I still accomplish? Taking ownership also means being honest about your failures. When something doesn't work, the disciplined response isn't to blame external factors. It's to ask, what could I have done differently? What can I learn from this? How can I improve next time? This level of accountability might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to deflecting responsibility. But discomfort is where growth lives. And the more you practice taking ownership, the more you'll discover something powerful. You have far more control over your life than you ever realized. Seneca wrote, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his power." That's what counting on yourself creates: true power. Not power over others or circumstances, but power over yourself. And that's the only power that actually matters for building lasting discipline. Habit 3. Show up consistently, even on hard days. Marcus Aurelius understood a truth that separates the disciplined from the distracted. Greatness isn't built in moments of inspiration. It's built in the daily grind of simply showing up. He wrote, "Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. Cold or warm, tired or well-rested, despised or honored, dying or busy with other assignments." This is the essence of consistency, doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel or what conditions you face. Most people operate on motivation. When they feel inspired, they work hard. When they feel tired, stressed, or unmotivated, they make excuses. This creates an inconsistent pattern where progress happens in bursts followed by periods of nothing. The Stoics rejected this approach entirely. For them, discipline meant showing up every single day, not just on days when it felt good. It meant honoring your commitments to yourself even when, especially when, you didn't feel like it. Think about Marcus Aurelius's life. He was dealing with military campaigns, political betrayals, economic challenges, and personal losses. Do you think he woke up every morning feeling motivated? Of course not. But he showed up anyway. This is what the Stoics called living in accordance with nature. Nature doesn't take days off. The sun doesn't rise only when it feels like it. Rivers don't stop flowing when conditions get difficult. There's a relentless consistency to nature, and the Stoics believed humans should embody that same consistency. In modern terms, this means building systems and routines that don't depend on feelings. Your discipline cannot be contingent on motivation because motivation is unreliable. Comes and goes like the weather. The consistency practice asterisk. Identify the most important habit you need to build discipline in your life. Maybe it's exercise, maybe it's working on a business, maybe it's studying, maybe it's creative work. Whatever it is, make this commitment. You will show up for it every single day, even if only for a minimal amount of time. The key isn't duration or intensity, it's consistency. It's better to work on something for 10 focused minutes every day than to have sporadic 3-hour sessions when you feel motivated. Why? Because consistency builds identity. Every time you show up, you're telling yourself, I am the kind of person who does this. You're reinforcing neural pathways. You're making the behavior automatic. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, calls this identity-based habits. The Stoics understood this 2,000 years earlier. Marcus Aurelius wasn't disciplined because he felt like being disciplined. He was disciplined because that's who he was. It was his identity. When you miss a day, you're not just breaking a streak. You're contradicting your identity. And over time, your identity determines your actions far more than your intentions do. This is also why showing up on hard days matters more than showing up on easy days. Anyone can work when they feel good. The true test of discipline is what you do when everything is working against you, when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when you have 1,000 reasons to skip today. Those are the days that define you. Those are the days that separate those who talk about discipline from those who live it. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Inconsistency is waste. Every day you skip is a day you can never recover." The Stoics understood that time is your most precious resource, and discipline is simply respecting that resource by using it consistently. So show up today. Show up tomorrow. Show up the day after. Don't wait for inspiration. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't wait for the right mood. Just show up. Do the work. Honor your commitment to yourself. Over weeks, this builds habits. Over months, it builds momentum. Over years, it builds a completely different life. But it all starts with today, and tomorrow, and the next day. Consistency isn't glamorous. It doesn't get celebrated in the moment, but it's the single most reliable path to every meaningful achievement you've ever admired. And it's entirely within your control. Habit 4. Embrace discomfort as training. The Stoics had a practice that sounds counterintuitive to modern ears. They deliberately sought out discomfort, not to punish themselves, but to prepare themselves. Marcus Aurelius, despite having access to every luxury the Roman Empire could offer, regularly practiced voluntary hardship. Seneca would periodically live like a poor man, eating simple food, wearing rough clothes, sleeping on hard surfaces, to prove to himself that he could handle adversity if it came. This practice was called premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. But it extended beyond just mental rehearsal into actual physical practice. The logic was simple. If you're accustomed to discomfort, you won't be thrown off balance when life inevitably becomes uncomfortable. In Stoic philosophy, this is part of preparing yourself for fortune's fickleness. Comfort makes you soft. Ease makes you fragile. When you've only ever experienced pleasant conditions, the first sign of hardship feels catastrophic. But when you voluntarily experience discomfort, you know something powerful. You can handle it. This knowledge is what builds unshakable discipline. Think about it this way. Every time you choose something easy over something hard, you're training yourself to be weak. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you're teaching yourself that discomfort is something to be avoided at all costs. This creates a massive problem because life is inherently uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. Achievement is uncomfortable. If your default response to discomfort is avoidance, you'll never build the discipline required for any meaningful pursuit. The Stoics flipped this script. Instead of avoiding discomfort, they pursued it strategically, not randomly or masochistically, but intentionally, as training for life's inevitable challenges. The voluntary discomfort practice asterisk. Start incorporating small, manageable discomforts into your daily routine. Take cold showers, starting with just 30 seconds at the end of your regular shower. Wake up an hour earlier than you need to. Skip one meal a week to practice managing hunger. Exercise even when you don't feel like it. Do the hardest task first before anything else. Limit your phone usage to create mental discomfort. Say no to something you want but don't need. Each of these small discomforts serves multiple purposes. First, they prove to you that discomfort is temporary and survivable. The cold shower ends. The hunger passes. The difficult task gets completed. You're stronger than you think. Second, they expand your capacity. Your comfort zone is like a muscle, it only grows when stressed. By regularly stepping outside it, what once felt impossible becomes routine. What once required massive willpower becomes automatic. Third, they build what psychologists call stress inoculation. Just like vaccines expose you to small amounts of a disease to build immunity, voluntary discomfort exposes you to small amounts of hardship to build resilience. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Part of that power comes from knowing that external discomfort cannot break your internal discipline. There's also a gratitude component to this practice. When you voluntarily go without something, you appreciate it more deeply when you have it. Seneca wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the cheapest fare and rough dress, saying to yourself, 'Is this the condition that I feared?' Often what we fear isn't as bad as we imagined. And by experiencing it voluntarily, we remove its power over us. We stop avoiding challenges because we know we can handle them. This doesn't mean you should suffer needlessly or make life unnecessarily difficult. The Stoics weren't advocating for misery. They were advocating for preparation. There's a huge difference between suffering that serves no purpose and discomfort that strengthens you. The modern world has optimized for comfort at every level. Climate-controlled environments, on-demand entertainment, food delivery, instant gratification. All of this makes life easier, but it also makes you weaker. Discipline requires strength, and strength only comes from facing resistance. By embracing voluntary discomfort, you're choosing to become stronger rather than waiting for life to force strength upon you. Start small. Pick one small discomfort and commit to it for 30 days. Notice how your relationship with discomfort changes. Notice how your discipline in other areas improves. Notice how much more capable you feel. The Stoics knew that comfort is the enemy of growth. If you want unshakable discipline, you must become comfortable being uncomfortable. That's not a contradiction, that's wisdom. Habit 5. Practice the dichotomy of control. At the heart of Stoic philosophy is a simple but profound distinction that Marcus Aurelius returned to again and again. Some things are within your control and some things are not. He wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control. These things are not asking to be judged by you. Leave them alone." This principle, called the dichotomy of control, is fundamental to building lasting discipline because it directs your energy precisely where it can make a difference. Most people waste enormous amounts of mental and emotional energy on things completely outside their control. What others think of them, whether they'll get chosen for an opportunity, outcomes that depend on countless variables, past events that can't be changed, future events that haven't happened yet. All of this is wasted energy. Worse than wasted, it's actively harmful because it drains the finite willpower and attention you could be directing toward things you actually can control. The Stoic solution is radical in its simplicity. Identify with perfect clarity what is and isn't in your control, then pour 100% of your energy into what is. Things within your control asterisk. Your effort and work ethic. Your choices and decisions. Your attitude and perspective. your response to events, your values and principles, your habits and routines, your focus and attention, things outside your control asterisk, outcomes and results, other people's opinions and actions, the past, most of the future, natural events, circumstances you didn't choose, other people's success or failure. When you truly internalize this distinction, your discipline becomes almost effortless in a way. Not because things become easier, but because you stop fighting battles that can't be won. Think about how much mental energy you spend worrying about outcomes. You work hard on a project, then stress about whether it will be accepted. You train for a competition, then worry about whether you'll win. You build something, then obsess over whether people will like it. The control practice asterisk. When you face any situation that triggers stress or procrastination, immediately do this exercise. Draw a line down the middle of a page. On the left, list everything about this situation that's within your control. On the right, list everything outside your control. Then make this commitment. I will invest my energy only in the left column. The right column is none of my business. This might sound harsh, but it's actually compassionate toward yourself. You're giving yourself permission to stop carrying burdens that were never yours to carry. Marcus Aurelius faced this constantly as emperor. He couldn't control whether his generals won battles, whether senators supported his policies, whether plagues would strike Rome, whether his children would survive or die. What could he control? His decisions as emperor, his integrity, his response to bad news, his adherence to his principles despite circumstances. By focusing exclusively on that, he maintained discipline that most people lose the moment things don't go their way. This practice also helps with a major discipline killer, perfectionism. Perfectionists tie their self-worth to outcomes, which are never fully controllable. This creates paralysis. If you can't guarantee perfect results, why try at all? The Stoic response: stop trying to control results. Control your effort. Make it as excellent as possible, then release attachment to how it's received. Epictetus, who was enslaved for much of his life, understood this better than most. He couldn't control his circumstances. He was literally owned by another person. But he could control his mind, his perspective, and his internal freedom. And that was enough. You have that same option. You cannot control most of what happens in your life, but you can control how you show up, how you respond, and what you do with what you have. That's not resignation, that's power. That's discipline. And it's entirely available to you right now, regardless of your circumstances. Focus on what you control. Release what you don't. Watch how your discipline transforms.